Well, welcome back, all dear colleagues, professors, sirs, and madams. We're back to the so-called interactive session where I would like really to spur a discussion around learning on the Balkans in regards to circular economy. I would like to present some of the things, but I would also like to have questions and your opinions from this session in order to be successful. CirEkon is working on circular economy for 4 years now, in different forms and shapes, and we have managed to collect a number of thorough analysis about streams, waste streams, and material streams, about needs assessment, ways that we need to training, etc., etc. But what we need is actually also your information in order to, move further, one step ahead. And not only from Serbia, we need to unite in this, and we need to have all people that are willing to contribute and actually have development for themselves as well. So in next 40-ish minutes, maybe a little bit more, I would really like to tell you a secret, because we are currently streaming this over 4 platforms, over Facebook, YouTube, in the collective vibe, the one nice surrounding that you saw, and also via Zoom. So I would like to inform all the participants that are currently on collective vibe platform that they have a little button on the bottom left, and if you would like to directly participate in a Zoom meeting and therefore express your opinions, ask direct questions, or vocalize your concerns, conclusions, and also suggestions, to click on this, it says join Zoom meeting, and join us here in live in order to facilitate better and more quality, higher quality discussions. I would at this point really like to thank Mr. Laszlo Borbély for sharing with us very important future-oriented information that Romania is taking. And one thing I would like to also emphasize, and that collaboration in this is crucial, because we need to synchronize in order to succeed in this. So that will maybe be my first message for this call, and let's see what are the other lessons learned from all the activities that we had before. Before I start, I would like also to give you an option to ask questions via a Q&A part that is part of the Zoom platform that we're currently running on. And also, if you would like to speak up, please raise your hand. There is an option in participants mode to raise your hand, so our moderators can also call you and give you, welcome you to the stage. So with this, let's begin. If this presentation wants to listen to me. Okay. Right. I've told before who I am. This was also in the opening presentation. The main point is that I've finished industrial ecology and circular economy in European Union countries, namely the Netherlands and Austria, and I really saw that the wave of sustainable business is coming, whether we like it or not. And at that point, I got not afraid, but it concerned me whether or not we are going to be ready as a region, and that point as people in Serbia, because at that moment we really didn't have any kind of education that will guide us towards sustainable business, higher level education. So instead of staying there, I decided to be a bit brave and come back and start from the beginning, from the scratch, creating completely new stakeholder networking, completely new processes. From various experiences, we got to the conclusion that if you want to deal with systemic circular economy, not only with parts of circular economy, you really need to be a bit crazy. And that was actually one of the main conclusions from one of the higher level meetings that we had on European level. But besides that, I've given my best to design a comprehensive education education program that we've developed together with Chamber of Commerce and with the tremendous understanding and help of AIT Climate Kick. And that's actually because of them we are also today here, because these people from European innovation centers are understanding where the trends are heading, and it's our job to transfer this message in the highest possible manner, in the highest possible at the highest possible level, in order to inform and educate people to bring right decisions. Now you'll see me talking a bit more about these education stuff, but until then, please feel free to interrupt me with questions and answers. It's not, I would really not like to just talk for 40 minutes and then go for a break. It would be amazing if we would have constant discussion and interaction between us. So then after creating this Academy for Circular Economy, we were looking at the potential of how this integral education could be scaled and fastly in order to facilitate change on many more areas and to produce like this ripple effect that we wanted, which is currently also in a pipeline, and we're looking for ways how to stream the uniformal education across countries. And starting from that idea, we started to think about circular economy beacons. Of course, at that moment, they were not called like that, but we realized that we need to understand circular economy in the same level and in the same way in order to really use all that it can give. If we're focusing on sporadic things, we would really be creating power structures that are not going to be beneficial if we're talking about a systemic overview, and if we're talking about the whole nation or the whole region and the very people that are in them. So at least in Serbia, when I came back, the narrative was only about waste management and well, actually not even recycling, but better waste management, collecting, and there was a lot of misinterpretation of between circular economy, green economy, and a couple of different concepts that were back then very popular. So with a tremendous effort and huge understanding also from the colleagues and directors from Chamber of Commerce, we have managed to come forward with a couple of suggestions how to move this story and how to accelerate good decision making. So we created this Academy for Circular Economy, which proved to be a very good program. During this 24-hour session, I just realized that we will have a couple of speakers that were part of this academy from the training perspective, trainer perspective, or from the participants' perspective. And the narrative after that had changed from waste management to actually what we're building and knitting circular economy into is industrial economic development. So it's not anymore part of environmental protection, waste management as an only axis, but circular economy is now part of Serbian industrial economic development and one of the pillars of industrial development strategy until 2030. And that's what's important. The narrative around circular economy changes and the scope increases. Because it's one thing to recycle and it's another thing to innovate. Yeah, of course, we need innovation also in this thing, but we cannot really focus only on this side of all-encompassing paradigm of circular economy. And when I say paradigm, it's something that very few people can understand. And that's why I get many questions of, all right, this is very nice, but companies want to, or actors even want to have incentives and want to have fast wins. And it's narrowing towards tree hugging. If we're talking about circular economy, it's narrowing to tree hugging and it's never going to work. That's very important to understand, because we're not going to repipe the system. We have to change the way we think, and that's going to be actually the hardest thing. And that's also why I've said at the beginning, it's not a 1 or 2 year mission, it's 10 or 15 year thing, because we need to think differently. And we'll come to this point as well. So far, no questions, right? All right. And there are a couple of conclusions from my side, is that even if we would like to have, and even some companies have tried to follow their international strategies and you know, create a better energy mix in their production, or minimize waste, or re-loop materials in their production. There was a obvious barrier that policies are currently not up to date in these kind of novel approaches, which is not to blame anyone. It's on us to really to step up and require what we need. And we need to do this together, because the voice will be stronger, and not only the voice, but the need and the recognized benefits will be also stronger. So if we don't communicate with the decision makers, we're not going to achieve basically anything. If we just sit and wait until the policies are brought, they're not going to happen if we're not, if they are not pushed. And if they're pushed, that means that there is a little time on the agenda to act, and usually it's higher price to pay. And one of first analysis that we created, sorry, it was more of a booklet, but yeah, a bit of analysis as well was there. That actually Chamber of Commerce and OSCE have published back in 2000. I think it was 17, early 17. I've realized that we have actually 2 ways to go, and now I'm talking to Serbia, but pretty much around Balkans as well. The one way was to go into industrial production, heavy focusing on volumes of production, and heavy focusing on fast GDP and revenue growth. But we would face inevitably the overhaul of our industry. If we ramp up our systems, and in 5 to 10 years, we will need to reorganize completely in order to follow new trends and new standards. Because in 5 to 10 years, most probably we will not be able to export the same quality of products and materials in the same way we're doing this now. Why am I saying this? Because in the first act of circular economy documentation, so first circular economy package coming from European Union, there was a clear notice that that European Union needs and wants to keep the materials flowing around the countries of EU. And one of the notions from, I think it was Dutch, but I'm not so sure. One of the notions from single members circular economy strategies was that it is envisaged, or it is forecasted that until 2030, there will be 20 to 30% of less of imports, because the materials are going to start circulating around this market. So if we want to only focus on low-level production and processing industries, it's not going to be the same as before. So we really need to act yesterday. In order to do this and to enable material flows, product flows, information flows, we need to synchronize policies between our countries, because like it we or not, we have a bit of different needs than the, for instance, western part of European countries or actors. And this is the chance actually to leapfrog. And when I say leapfrog is to jump over several stages of technological development and to land directly to the current trends, right? Land directly to some of the most modern technologies and implementing most modern methodologies in the way we work. We definitely need synchronization between policies, and we need to create regulation and incentives for controlling that system, for controlling the new economy. But the truth to be said, this is expensive toy to play. If we create regulation and many controlling systems, is just gonna be a heavier load to the regular citizen. And even if we like to have the carrot and stick strategies, they're not always applicable, because every new rule brings new complexity to the system and brings new costs to the whole society. So the direction of us waiting for new regulation that will push us, then it's not really a smartest option, because also how will we act and how will we respond to new regulation if we don't know what we're dealing with, right? If there is only a few messages said you must do this or you cannot do that. So the education is the key. And the lack of knowledge and understanding what true circular economy is, we might focus on wrong things, really. And in Serbia, we have managed to redirect the development from pure waste management to innovation. And and I know that also in our neighboring countries, from Circular Economy Beacons project, they're also doing the same, being that the countries now and policies are focusing on clean energies, clean tech, and actually bringing circular economy at their main, as their main economical strategies, or at least main economical roadmaps. And that's our one of our first goals, is to spread actually and speed up the education, training, and facilitation for these things. We need experts, as again Mr. Barboi said. We need professionals. We need engineers. Really, we need social, well, professionals from social dimensions, psychologists, etc., in order to create a new system. And on some of the on one of the workshops that we held, it was a main European, again, workshop 2 years ago. And one of the conclusions was, all right, we have a technology and we have, we have the knowledge in our circle. The circle is going bigger, and that's good, but we have to put this down to the regular citizen. We need to use the language of, of everyday's life. And we need sociologists and psychologists in order to see what is the embedment of this old narrative around circular economy, in order to put the human in the center of attention. And one of the great leaders in circular economy is, and my due respects to his profession and to his deeds, Mr. Alexander Lamil is trying to push as much as possible for putting the human being in the center of what circular economy should become. Because if we don't do this, if we don't enable people to act with the higher ratio, with the high level of knowledge, we are gonna again produce negative externalities and negative effect. So what we need to do is, in these 3 years, we have realized that we need to negotiate with ministries and policymakers in order to unlock the funds. Because if they don't, or if we don't, because we're all parts of ministries and governments, if we don't unlock the funds from that direction, we will not be able to scale differently. And on the other side, if we don't see the financial flows, that everything is left in a drawer. So it is also our task as a community to negotiate with ministries and policymakers to unlock the funds for widespread education on these matters. And maybe the education and spreading of information is crucial, because I've managed to see in the last 2 years, there are at least dozen of projects that spun from good education. People are getting more recognized. People are getting more opportunities to prove their knowledge or to put their knowledge into practice. And the main point is, we need these people. We really, at the beginning, we saw that there is less than 1% of necessary people that are able to comprehend and act on a systemic circular economy. So in the next in a couple of next years, we need to create formal or informal educational programs. And we need to tackle both individual education and also organizational education. So the companies and their management systems can understand how to act on this. Because one of the first questions that I constantly have is, good, we know the theory, that's all great, but how do we start, and what is the first what is the first step we should take? And that's the the main indicator that we lack the knowledge about circular economy, true circular economy. It's good to talk in these things, but we need to engage with each other in a project level, on a process level, on design of the product level. So all in all, we need a new design, and we need to know how to do it. Oh, this is a wrong slide. So the other part of the coin is that in our region we lack information. It's not only in our region, but it's very much present wherever we want to find information about flows, about the value of materials that are lost, the energy that is lost, information flows. We really have difficulties finding them, because we don't still have an organized system that will monitor in all the details the things we have to measure. And I'm specifically aiming here for material and waste flows. Because if we don't do this, we will not know what amount of precious materials we are losing. And there is one more project that is called InnoCat, and in that one we are trying to facilitate for vehicle catalyzers exchange in order to save precious metals such as platinum group metals and keep them in circulation. So not to go to waste and landfill, but trying to recycle them and keep them in circulation. The main fact is we don't know where their catalyzers are. And we need to build the systems where the material flows are more and more transparent, in order to be ready to plan. Because if we don't do this, there are a lot of missed business opportunities to be made. So, yeah, that's one of the conclusions that we also had. And we have talked with our stakeholders. And the thing is, they cannot understand what we want to create. Because also, as I said before, we want to create a paradigm shift. We need to create new parameters of growth and development. And it's not really easy to comprehend if you don't dedicate a lot of time into understanding what crucially circular economy is about. And if we don't understand it, if we don't have people that can transfer these messages, information and knowledge, we will only be doing the repiping of our economy. And that's not structurally the same as putting the circular economy system. So if we just put one flow from one place to another, if we redirect one amount of waste from landfill to recycling, it's good, but it's not enough, because at the end slide, the last slide, you will see that the real goal of circular economy is actually to create a system where we minimize waste flows. So imagine the situation that we're building factories for recycling, and the goal of circular economy is to minimize waste. It's kind of a contradictory state, right? And the beginning also I mentioned that the technological lockdowns and lock-ins. What does that mean? That means that if we create technologies and we put them to practice, most of them have, well, bigger industrial and bigger infrastructure technologies have 25 to 30 years of return on investment period. So we need to be locked in these technologies for the next 30 years. That's pretty much the whole youth of one man, or the whole generation in other terms. And we cannot really go from there, because it's not payable, it's not profitable. That's why we need to be very smart and be very informed about where to act and how to act. What kind of nodes are we pushing? What kind of system changes are we creating? So we need to map waste flows. We need to map material flows. We need to map material values and this whole value of our natural system in order to create priorities where we are going to act. And again, it's one of the crucial things is to collaborate between countries. In that way, we will become able to create hotspots of intervention and the so-called low-hanging fruits. What does that mean? That means that maybe we can nudge the system in one direction, not not expensing or not losing too much money, but discovering something that is really beneficial. There's some small changes that can be made. Education is one of them. The problem with education is that it lasts longer. But you actually don't need to spend a lot of money these days, especially to spread education and to keep people informed about these things. And finally, we need analysis and assessments on regional level, not only on, not only in city level, not only in business level, not even only on national level, but on regional level, in order to see how to connect all these flows, in order to see how to create maybe a physical industrial symbiosis, maybe virtual industrial symbiosis, but to keep these resources flowing around countries, creating a good market for secondary raw materials as well. So for this to happen, we need to do two things, even more. We need to change the language we're talking because, yeah, as said, two systems are here colliding, the old linear economy system and the new circular economy system. They have different languages, and if we talk by a language from one system, the other will not understand because they completely have different picture about what's happening around us. So that's the first thing, and the second thing is actually we need to create a multidisciplinary character of collaboration. So we shouldn't only focus on business or government or NGO and spreading knowledge. We need to connect them because there are multiple perspectives. All of them, or all of us have different vested interest in everything that we do. And all of us have different incentives that will push us and motivate us to move further. And in that sense, circular economy beacons are actually doing this. We're connecting at least government, business, and research, innovation, and academia. So in that sense, CirEkon is a business partner. Cleantech Bulgaria is both research, innovation, and business. Wuppertal Institute from Germany is Research and Innovation Institute. Chamber of Commerce is between government and business, actually. It's a very strong connection that can transfer messages, lessons learned, activities and requirements from business to government and other way around. There is also a Chamber of Commerce of Timisoara that is, again, having similar role. And at the end, but definitely not the least, Research Center Athena, which is, again, part of research, innovation, academia. Now we're starting to collaborate with media as well, because fast spread of information is really important. So we need to organize much more of these events, and we need to, inform regular citizen about what is circular economy for their own understanding and for their own sake. And next year we are going to to intensify collaboration with civil society, because also they are very powerful voice of what civil society needs, and we need to educate or inform what are the ways that circular economy be, but not only single directional information, but bi-directional information. We cannot only feed information, we need to build dialogue and construct dialogues around priorities that are necessary. So if you would say this is part of research innovation framework that is called quadruple and quintuple helix thing, that we need to integrate all of these 5 areas in order to have a systemic effect on circular economy. And that's something we're building. And if one take from here is try to integrate as many of these, at least business, government, and research innovation, because they will you will definitely have a multidisciplinary point of view, and you will need them to excel. And also you will see a couple of our pre-recordings and our discussion are going to be around this. We need to internalize our skills, needs, and capacity. It's great that we have that we have international organizations helping us, but we need really to internalize this and transfer this knowledge, skills, and build our own capacities here. Because first of all, it's a faster reaction. Second of all, it's less expensive. And third of all, we're building our own capacities, to carry on with the transition. There were some discussions we talked very recently, again, on European level, was that it's good to make the change, but you need to lead and to endure during this change as well. So we need to create leaders that have enough skills, knowledge, and capacity in order to endure and lead these throughout these transition times. And that's why also circular economy beacons exist, in order to connect these experts and motivated people that are willing to contribute back. If we're focusing only on our personal needs, we're not going to manage to do much. We're just going to see a different world that is, again, not different world, but a different plateau or different market that is still disconnected, and everyone is looking on their own, to their own needs and wants. And we need to collaborate, not to personalize everything that we get. Our policies are, well, not compatible, but more important is that the regional, all of the countries from the region that circular economy beacons are in, do have some kind of first policy moves. What does that mean? Is that, for instance, Serbia has created a national roadmap for circular economy. Montenegro is also very close to bringing this document. Romania and Bulgaria are creating strategies or action plans for circular economy, while Greece also have a national action plan for circular economy. But all of them have different goals and different focuses, which is good. We don't say that everything needs to be the same. We need diversification and diversity in these things, because every field, also every region has different resource amounts and different types of resources. So of course, we should have different priorities, but they're not synchronized. And that is exactly what we want to address in 2021, in order to bring policymakers together, try to create a dialogue and try to create exchange of information. I'm refraining myself from saying educate people, because it's actually about how do we understand circular economy. It's not about us telling and educating. It's about how we understand, and to have, as also very, very nicely Mr. Barboy said, we need to build a consensus of what we are striving for. And next year, that's exactly why we're gonna facilitate for a process for multidisciplinary and cross-country, cross-border policymaker support and policymaker dialogue. So we're finally sitting around one table and trying to discover what are the needs and wants from our countries. It is about policies, it's about bonds, it's about subsidies and enabling policies. But if we don't, as a bottom-up part, is we don't ask for them, we'll not get them. So I also heard many times, yeah, but the policies are not right. But who will have to bring the policies if you don't vote, vouch, or scream for this need? Again, it's on us to voice this need and to unite these voices through, again, very important actor. He's civil society, especially professional civil society, such as associations of engineers, associations of environmentalists, and associations of managers and business people. They are the ones that can transfer voice very loudly and very fastly, and we really want to build collaboration with them. So it's not only on policymakers, it's also on business and consumers. It's the way that we as business people and we as consumers understand this thing. If we ask for the same thing, if we ask for, if we incentivize as consumer with our wallets, linear economy, we're not going to transfer to circular one. And that, so the point is the focus is also on us, not only on policymakers, because without us and without our knowledge, it's hardly that they can make right decisions. It's also for us to understand the full scope of circular economy and transfer the right knowledge. And when I say the right knowledge, we need to expand this to systems thinking and the way that these systems are doing. If I now would start talking about leverages of systems and where we need to act, not many of people will be able to follow. But that's actually from the plain reason that it is not very much presented in our society yet. And for that very reason, we need to get the right systemic knowledge of circular economy to all of our peers. And it's not easy. It's not easy because it's complex. It's a lot of things to transfer, and we need time to comprehend this, work with this, and apply it. But it's a good adventure, because every time we manage to do this, we see even acceptive developments that are coming. And we see emergent systems, emergent products, and emergent services as soon as the way of thinking clicks in another dimension. And I can tell that for people that we are talking with constantly, and also for ourselves, we are literally bringing new synapses and neurons in order to think about the whole life cycle of a product. So we're not thinking about creating a product that will create better efficiency in factory. No, we need to think about what's happening at the end of its life cycle in order to return this material. Not only because we need waste management, but because it's good for business as well. And there are many lessons to be learned yet, or still in that domain. And at the end, we should not accept that circularity equals waste management anymore. It's much more than this, and I'll show a couple of more slides. Definitely, recycling is part of circular economy, and waste management is, because we need to reloop all these materials, but there is so much more to it. And we cannot incentivize all technologies and low-value products anymore, because it's counterproductive. The next lesson is that we really cannot pose this as a competition task, but we truly need to collaborate. And that's one of the things that I mentioned at the very beginning also, is that if we do that, we're just gonna polarize our needs and create new power games that is not going to be very productive. Because circular economy and systems thinking is all about collaboration, and actually that's a different mindset. And that's what we realize, that we are talking from a different perspective and different mindset to the current linear actors that are constantly pushed to produce more, constantly pushed to achieve KPIs, yearly KPIs. One thing that is very visible is that strategies before were made on 10-year sample, then on 5 years. Now company and big corporation strategies are made only for 2 years. And that's how fast we need to produce the outputs. I don't say we need to slow down. I say that we need to change from majorly taking the competition roles to collaboration roles. Well, still we need the differentiation between actors in the market, and that many players will try to keep the results only for themselves and want to become in charge of the things they're not really capable of doing. And that's something we saw in a couple of iterations. We cannot be selfish on the deliverables and on the final effects. And that's really me personally talking with as a person. We need to share and we need to help each other, because, yeah, as said, we're going to build a different system, but it's not going to be a sustainable one. That's why we, if we act from the point of fear and leaving and striving only for market share and not losing to competition, it's going to be momental victories, but on a longer term, only collaboration actually will push us towards this different mindset. And that's why Circular Economy Beacons is creating a trustworthy network of experts. We want to build trust between all of the people that are in it So if they're in the network, they will wish to contribute back, not only to use the resources and pools, but to complement back, actually, to return back and improve the network itself. And maybe that's the final message from my side on this one. One more thing is that now I can compare only Serbia and European Union. That's one of the graphs, or two of the graphs, that I constantly and very often actually point out, is that we are really investing, what is this, 8 times less, right? Almost 10 times less. No, it's 6 times less. 6 times less in research and development than European Union. So we have to face the fact that we need to work on this. And that's the first barrier, one of the first barriers next to education, that we need to break. We need to put more funds into innovation and research. And if we don't do this, we're going to be locked in lower end jobs and something that is not fostering a true circular economy. And in the end, in Serbia, at least, we cannot really decide whether it's 5, 7, or 10% that we recycle. And I can tell you for the fact that very few percentage and very few small amounts of these are actually being recycled in Serbia. Usually that we pack and we prepare for recycling, and we need to also create a different language, around more precise language about these facts, in order to push also these numbers up. All right, so many times mentioned education and trainings. That's something that creates virtuous cycles, and that's something that will, again, I already told you, will produce different products, it will produce different projects and different initiatives. And we need to work on our micro-funding. So the funds are not really available. There are some, mainly coming from European Union part, or from major international funds such as GEF or United Nations, or not maybe in Serbia, but in different regions, big banks that are committed to circular economy. But we need to create microfunding, and we need to enable innovation for entrepreneurs and for innovators. So these are the critical points of investments where you, even before the value of that that we don't have visible. And mostly because we don't have parameters and indicators how to measure what is circular and what is not. What is the character of a circular innovation, etc., etc. And currently we're working, or actually not we're working, but UNDP is launching one call in Serbia that is dedicated to circular innovation. Try to follow this one, and we're trying to embed these new indicators and see what would be the measurement system behind what we call circular innovation. And this is something that also Chamber of Commerce is trying to build microfunding to small inventors in order to push this innovation towards circular economy. And at the end, there are two final slides that I would like to say. This is one of the canvases that we use usually in trainings, produced by Dr. Fenna Blomsma well, currently she is based in Hamburg, working as a junior professor. And one of the good things about circular economy, about linear economy, is that we're producing value constantly in our value chain, and then suddenly after we stop using it, the value is lost, and we completely go even in negative values of the product itself. And it's actually a perception that was built over years in many of the strivings to reach the consumerism, or to consumer-centered market, is that we don't need old phones, we don't need still functioning mice or washing machines, etc. Our perception needs to change in a split of a second, from very, very valuable thing that we cannot live without to a complete garbage that we would like to just never see it again. So this is the main psychological thing that we need to change, and we need to prevent this value loss and value destruction only after we decided not to use products anymore. And the last slide, maybe. Yeah. Well, the last slide is that circular economy is really about prevention of waste. And you can see that all the other things here are focusing on waste reuse. So in order to prevent waste creation, we need to design different products with different mindsets. And we need to talk with industrial designers. We need to talk about the manager points and the top management of companies in order to see how and where the changes in KPIs and the ways that they are measuring their successes is possible, and to create the system that will not produce waste at all. That will be beneficial also to us and to them, to us and to us as business people and to us as a consumer. To conclude, the overall awareness is very low in business and consumer circles about the risk of overconsumption and the benefits of innovative circular economy. First steps are being taken in the right direction, and that's usually and mainly because of increased flow of information and increased flow of education between critical actors. Big organizations are still involved, and we will need definitely aid for and support from them in coming years. But we need to start thinking about being self-sufficient in this, and that's why I was talking about building our own skill set and our own capacities. Funds are necessary to be allocated to circular solutions. So if we're talking about entrepreneurship, if we're talking about innovation, if we're talking about supporting any kind of economic activities, they need to be pushed towards circular solutions. And when I say circular solutions, I don't always mean only on materials. I also mean on energy. And without renewable energy, we're not going to close the circle. Framework in our countries is being built, but the main point is we need to synchronize and join us also next year in trying in that efforts to join different policymakers and try to create first steps towards synchronizing our policies and enable material and energy flows even with bigger transparency and better value. Practice in the field of business is almost completely absent, and that's why circular economy beacons are building the network of experts between our countries, and also we're building the bridge towards Netherlands, Spain, Germany, Finland, etc., in order to, not really import, but try to transfer this knowledge and the expertise here in order to boost good implementation. And we need to unlock niche bottom-up solutions because, as I said before, we cannot overly depend on policymakers that will have only policy that will enable further on. Yes, we need to have some of the policies, but we also need to push for new requirements, so-called. And we should investigate options on industrial symbiosis, remanufacture, recondition, and other tighter cycles of circular economy, because they retain more value in our production systems, and they create more local jobs. They create higher educated jobs and higher level jobs than up until now, if we focus only on waste management and recycling. Once again, it's very necessary to have all the pieces of puzzle in place. It's not going to be easy, but that's why we're taking this quintuple helix approach to try to integrate all the opinions and create a better future for our region. And at the end, I just wanted to close with, we're carefully supporting you through systemic circular transition times, and we're really diligent about, or careful about, approaching this carefully. So we try to design the activities towards the market needs, towards you as actor needs, etc., etc. So it's one more call to enjoy this conference and really engage. I didn't see any question being posted. That's not making me happy, but okay. Really try to engage. This platform that we've set up is enabling you to share information between you, to post messages, to advertise your innovation. We want to see also you telling us what is the things that you're working on, to hear what are your pleas and what are your needs in order to support you even further, even if that means only pushing the message about you to the larger auditorium. But definitely what we aim for is a dialogue and constructive collaboration for the future, because we need this. That's from my side. I almost lost my voice. Hopefully there are some questions, and if not, I think they're slowly approaching to the end, right? 11:40. Okay, so we have 3 more minutes, right? No? Okay. So if there are no more questions, I would then, if there are no any questions, I would then leave this session to the next one, and invite Tim to join me, because now we're going to talk in a different matter. We're going to talk about workshops, and we're going to talk about how the cities can thrive with circular economy approaches. This should be a highly interactive workshop, so please, let's have Tin and Tana in a couple of minutes on the stage. Before that, we can relax for 3 or 4 minutes, and we're back online. Thank you very much.